I know myself far too well to be a stranger of pain. Despite it all, we remaining the same. I'm just changing the game. Heart pure, never tainted with fame. Straight ahead, I'ma stay in my lane. Never switching courses, life's amazing. It's gorgeous.
What's good, everyone? It's your boy Nati with another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone. And today, we got a special video, a highly anticipated video with the one and only, my good friend, my brother, Jonathan. And Jonathan, if you can you introduce yourself a bit and why you love the NBA so much and what got you into basketball?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Nati. My name is Jonathan. I'm from Hong Kong, and I'm actually Nati's classmate at the University of Chicago. And I started watching basketball formally in 2014, actually. I think my first playoff series that I ever watched was the Western Conference Finals between the Spurs and the Thunder. And watching that team basketball being played was really just a great way to get introduced to the sport. And since then, I've loved playing and watching. So yeah, it's been a great few years watching, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, that's cool. And now with the whole bubble situation, I think that'll just make things a little bit more interesting. But to start a discussion, we're basically going to be talking about first all the awards that have yet to be determined, but will be determined the next coming weeks with the MVP, Coach of the Year, so on and so forth. And then we'll get into some of the basketball that we'll be seeing in the bubble and our predictions for this season. So without further ado, let's get started with the pre-bubble question. And who do you think will win MVP this year, Coach of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, all the awards? Who do you think will win? My guy, Jonathan.
All right, so I guess we'll start with MVP. So I think it's really between Giannis and LeBron. I don't think this is a particularly hot take here. I think LeBron has a solid case, but he does have another All-NBA candidate in Anthony Davis. And to me, they share near equal credit for the Lakers' success this season, I think. LeBron probably has a bit more credit than KD. But Giannis, on the other hand, I think he has the lion's share of credit for the Bucks being, the first in the East, with a historically great defense and offense. I think Chris Middleton is a good player, but he is decidedly the number 2 option, and he's not at the same level as AD, I think. So I think Giannis probably edges out LeBron in this one.
And your Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year?
Yeah, okay. So, Defensive Player of the Year, I think this is a tough one again. I think the Lakers and Bucks are going to have been amongst the best defenses in the league, so they're 3 and 1 respectively. And AD and Giannis are the linchpin of those defenses, but defense is obviously a team effort, so I think the best way to separate the two is to see how much credit should go to the other players on the team. So the Lakers are a really tall team, and AD has other great post defenders such as Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee that provide a good interior presence. And they also have solid perimeter and wing defenders such as Avery Bradley and at least pre-bubble, Danny Green, KCP, and LeBron's defensive IQ and ability to act as a floor general on that end of the court should not be taken lightly. However, Giannis also has a solid defensive team, especially I think he's a DPOI candidate in Robin Lopez. So to be honest, the margins are pretty thin here, but I go with Giannis because he's the best defender on a historically good defensive team. Rookie of the Year, so I think it's Ja Morant. He's really polished, leads Grizzlies to the 8th spot. I think Zion deserves a shout out just for, the electrifying few games that he has played. And I also think actually that Tyler Hero of the Miami Heat deserves, dude, I'm telling you,
yeah,
I like this dude. And I think he might be the clutchest rookie in a while. Just the shots that he's made. I remember that one sequence of play against the Sixers at Miami where, Jimmy Butler steals the ball, and they're down, and then Tyler Hero hits this game-tying 3. It's just, I think he has that attitude, even if he's just a role player. And I think he deserves a shout out for that. So, but I do think it's John Moran. Sixth man of the year, it's got to be, I think, Lou Williams or Montrezl Harrell. The Clippers bench is arguably the deepest in the league, and they've been, a pivotal factor in the Clippers winning big games. And it's notable, especially in the Clippers bench contribution against the Lakers in the first two games of the regular series. So Lou and Harrell are big parts of that. So I wouldn't be surprised if either got that. Lou is a great scorer, and Harrell provides both great defense and is a good small ball center who's capable of playing the high pick and roll and kicking it out to shooters. I think that one sequence of play that comes to mind is when he kicked out to Pat Beverly multiple times when the Clippers played the Celtics at Staples Center, and that led to them winning the game eventually after a defensive rotation. Most improved player. This might be a hot take, might not, but I think.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. No. I just Can you? So now I guess just get to the coach of the year, and then I'll just respond to the because we're
sure.
just asking.
Yeah. Tell me if there's a case. Coach of the year for me, it's a pretty clear choice. I think it's Nick Nurse. I saw that people were predicting that Toronto would be a 6th seed this season after Kawhi left. But instead they're a solid number 2 seed and with the second best defense in the league. But beyond the stats themselves, I love his creativity as a coach. His defensive schemes, his triangle zone, man hybrid are really inventive, and his reading of in-game situations is great as well. His decision to implement a full-court press in a certain game when they were chasing a lead. And I think the most memorable example of this is his wall against Giannis in the 2019 Eastern Conference Finals, which pretty much effectively contained Giannis's interior threat. And I do think Eric Spoelstra also deserves a shout out for the work he's done with Miami this season. I love how he's turned that team into a dark horse and brought out the best in players that might have been overlooked. Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. But yeah, I do think it's Nick Nurse.
Yeah. Honestly, there isn't much discussion back and forth this first question, because I think we agree on a lot of these awards. I think we agree on Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, my guy John Morant, the guy that I was hyped on since his Murray State days, and I'm just glad that he's balling out now. And I think he definitely has that edge over Zion, just because Zion played in 19 games and John Morant started in 59 out of 59 possible games. So I think he has the edge there, and he's just been productive the entire season, and he's a big reason why the Memphis Grizzlies are somewhere where they shouldn't be, right, in the playoff picture in the West. So and then I also agree with your coach of the year, Nick Nurse. Once again, the Raptors are second in the East, right, and they lost Danny Green and they lost Kawhi Leonard. And they are actually better when you look at the win percentage than last year, which is just insane to think of. And I get it, Pascal Siakam, his progression, the progression of OG Anunoby, and some other players as well. I get that that's a big reason why they are where they are, but Nick Nurse is also another big reason, and I think he definitely should win Coach of the Year. I think Billy Donovan also should get some contention for Coach of the Year, just because the Thunder are 40-18, I believe, and the Thunder lost Paul George and Russell Westbrook. I get that they still have Chris Paul, but at the same time, nobody expected them to be where they're at right now, and they're winning games in the West, and that says something about coaching, right? But I would say the one award that I disagree with you on, and it's kind of funny because I got in a heated debate today on Twitter with someone who just Pedro Smith, a really good Redskins YouTuber, or Washington football, shall I say, YouTuber, and we were talking about the MVP race and the LeBron versus Giannis, because that's pretty much where it's at right now. And I actually believe LeBron James should win the MVP award this year. And you look at the numbers: 26 points, 11 assists, leading the league in assists in a 17th season, and really being a big contributor to the Lakers, obviously, and being a big reason why the Lakers are number 1 in the West after 6 straight years of no playoffs. They're number one in the West. I mean, I think that says something, right? And on top of that, he stepped up his defense. He's shown somewhat what he's capable of as a five-time all defensive player. And, a lot of times he ramps it up in the postseason, and in the regular season, he just like cools it a little bit and just gets by and waits a little bit. But this year, he's really balled out in the regular season. And I think I saw the offensive ratings for when AD is off the court versus when LeBron's off the court. And it's just tremendously like in LeBron's favor. And I think that also says something on top of the fact that he once again is playing pretty good defense this year. And I just think he's been snubbed way too many times in the MVP race. And this is the year he deserves it, in my opinion. But I think we've talked about this before, but I think this will be like a Giannis, James Harden type situation where Giannis just wins it. And even though a lot of people want James Harden to win it and think that he has the stats and stuff. So I see it as being that sort of situation. But that's what I believe in terms of the awards this year. I also think Bam Adebayo should win Most Improved Player of the Year, and Dennis Schroeder should win Sixth Man of the Year. Again, because the Thunder are where they're at with Chris Paul as their only star right now. So, and maybe Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But
Yeah.
So
For MIP, I think Luka Doncic has a good case for this. Because we knew he was good in his first season, but like he stepped it up a notch where he's arguably like a top 8 player in the league at the age of 20. So he's just so polished, like technically and just like mentally. So I don't know. I think he has a case for that, but
that's right. But now on to the questions that we're most excited for, just getting into the bubble and our predictions for the season. I guess just the first question to get, the elephant in the room out of the way, I guess. Do you think the NBA is better equipped for its startup than other leagues? Because, we've seen the NBA, much like the NHL, adopt a bubble. Do you think it's going to work? Do you think it's better as an option to start the playoffs this year?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, first of all, the bubble situation, I think it's pretty surreal. I've been watching like Matisse Thybulle's vlog, and it's just surreal. What?
JaVale McGee too.
Yeah, and McGee, and I mean there are other players who are starting vlogging, I think, but those two are the main ones, yeah. And it's like surreal, like the length to which they've gone to like to create this like bubble. But I don't think it's sustainable. I think like long-term wise, I think of like a model similar to what the European football / soccer leagues in England, Spain, France, Italy, Germany have all taken, which is basically like continuing to play. It's just totally crowdless. But it's worked to an extent where they've all finished their domestic competitions and they're getting ready for a competition in August, like the Champions League, which requires travel in between European countries. So I think theoretically, like a similar situation could happen in the NBA and other sports leagues in North America, like the MLB, NFL, NHL, where players travel to like crowded stadiums and play. Although the major difference is that the U.S. has not contained the virus as well as European countries have, which could be a reason why the NBA is in the bubble in the first place. But again, like I don't think it's a long-term option, the bubble, since the players and team staff will get restless. So I think the NBA is going to have to be compelled to find an alternative, and I think that's probably going to look somewhat similar to what's going on in the football leagues.
Yeah, I agree. I just think relative to the other professional leagues, like in North America, I just think the NBA is like most equipped right now. We're seeing what's going on with baseball, and as a Nats fan, like on top of like the losing that's going on right now, we're all like speculating when Juan Soto is going to come back, just because the MLB has pretty terrible like coronavirus sort of procedures in order for players to come back and stuff who have tested positive. And on top of that, there's no bubble. We see teams, I think the other day, teams were like squaring up with one another because there was an argument on the field, and at the last second they put their masks on and stuff. But you get stuff like that, right? Like it's crazy. And also they're traveling like between cities, right? And we see with the whole Miami Marlins like situation, like you're traveling to Miami and you're playing against a team where I think half the team now is tested positive, you know, you're further at risk. And so I just think the NBA is better equipped, although, you know, it is a pandemic, and if you get 1 or 2 cases, like that could be, you know, the NBA could be done this year, and hopefully that doesn't happen. But I do think.
Do you think the bubble situation would like continue for next season?
That's tough because we just don't know. I mean, I get it, you know, with the virus, like it gets worse in the colder months. I get that, but at the same time, we don't know where we're gonna be at in like January, February. Maybe we get a vaccine, maybe we don't. So I think the NBA is taking the smarter approach with Adam Silver, who's a Chicago Law School alum, and taking it slow by slow, day by day. And I think I trust in his leadership, and I trust that he will choose the right sort of option for the NBA and for next season. And if it's a bubble, so be it. But I trust Silver to get it right, more so than the other commissioners right now. So now on to the next question. What teams, give me 2 teams that you think in Orlando will have a very short time there and will have a very quick exit out of the bubble.
So I think the Wizards pretty much don't have a chance to make the playoffs. I mean, there's a 6-game gap between them and Orlando, and it seems kind of, unfortunate. Yeah. And it seems a bit much to overcome. And unfortunately, the team that I support the most, the San Antonio Spurs, you know, been kind of frustrating season, and I think this might break the streak of playoff appearances. But you know, their play style just seems kind of like antiquated, and their 2 main options, Aldridge and DeRozan, just don't seem consistent enough to take them to the playoffs. So I think they won't make it as well.
Yeah, that's fair. I was thinking of the Spurs too, but I don't know. Maybe Popovich might find a way. We've seen it happen time in and time again, but I know it's a different year, so we'll see. But I definitely, sadly, agree that the Wizards will have a short time in Orlando. And, you know, this is DMV Sports Zone, and we discussed the Wizards on here. And it's tough to say, but when you already didn't have John Wall, when you don't have Bradley Beal now, when you don't have the Latvian Laser, Davis Bertans, and your team is filled with young, inexperienced players where in the bubble you sort of need the leadership because you need the leaders to sort of lead the way in this unfamiliar circumstance, right? I just think the Wizards are in for a very short time in Orlando, sadly, and I think they're just tanking it kind of for next season where they're going to get another top draft pick. John Wall and Bradley Beal's coming back, and I think they will be good next year, but I just think it's going to be a short time in Orlando. And the other team that I think will have a short time is the Nets, the Brooklyn Nets. They're not having Kyrie Irving, right? He's sitting out for the rest of the season. They already didn't have DMV native Kevin Durant. Don't have DeAndre Jordan. He also opted out. And they don't have Spencer Dinwiddie. So that's what, like, your starting rotation next season? Like, and you're not going to have that, right, Jonathan? Like, I think it's pretty much a done deal for the Nets, and you're just losing too much production, even in the relatively weak East. So, but those are my 2 teams. Any thoughts, Jonathan?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was surprised when you said the Nets at first, but that makes sense. I mean, given that Kyrie isn't back. Yeah, I mean, the players you mentioned, they're pretty much their, like, starting rotation, or, I mean, at, like, their 6th man. So, yeah, that does make sense. I mean, Wizards, yeah. I mean, they do have Rui, right?
They do. He's been balling out, I think, in the scrimmages, but, I mean, you need more than one player, right?
Yeah, you do. Damn, I didn't know Beal didn't go back. He didn't go back.
No.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It is what it is, and I guess with the next question, to sort of flip the other question, who do you think is an under-the-radar team that could potentially contend for a championship this year and even win the championship in Orlando?
So, yeah, I've said that the Heat are a dark horse. I think they're a really solid team all around that can go toe-to-toe with the best in the East, like matchups wise. I mean, just like watching them play, they can hurt you in so many ways. Like they're great shooters, like the next Splash Brothers, Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero. And I mean, Bam Adebayo's a great like small ball center. Jimmy Butler, obviously, and just solid like like sixth man, like Dragic, solid role players. Yeah, they're good. But I really do think that the Raptors have the best chance in the East of upsetting the Bucks.
Yeah.
Right? Because, and this, okay, the reason I think this is because of their ability to contain Giannis, who is basically the Bucks' entire offense. Like, their playstyle in this year's, the Bucks' playstyle this year seems similar to their playstyle last year, in that Giannis is both the primary scorer and facilitator, and they play like this like 5-out system where Giannis drives and then scores in the paint or like kicks it out to a shooter for a three, which is kind of similar to like the Rockets play style, like the Harden instead of Giannis. And the Raptors have retained the core of the team, which pretty like effectively contained this play style in last year's playoffs. And even though Kawhi was technically like the primary defender in that scheme, like watching the games, the scheme was really a team effort with players like Siakam and Gasol playing a huge role in like walling off Giannis in the post. And Giannis hasn't developed his outside shot to an extent where I think he'll be able to overcome that scheme. So if they meet again in the playoffs, I think it could be like a deja vu situation where the Bucks, and the Raptors kind of replay last season's Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, again, like there isn't much back and forth to go here because I definitely agree with you. I know it's kind of cheating, right? Because the Raptors won it last year and they've already tasted, championship glory and stuff. But I think the Raptors are definitely my under the radar team who could win it all again. You have an improved Pascal Siakam. You have a guy who both of us talked about as the coach of the year, Nick Nurse, and you have the young wing OG Anunoby, and last year he was sidelined with an injury, but this year he's back with a vengeance, and you got two stud wings, and on top of that, like you have all that veteran leadership on that team, Kyle Lowry, Marcus Gasol, Serge Ibaka, who all missed I think upwards of like 20 games this season, but they're all back and healthy now. And like I said earlier to you, Jonathan, I think in this bubble, in these unfamiliar circumstances, veteran leadership, and this will be like a theme that will help me sort of address or sort of answer the next questions, but veteran leadership is something that is super important in these unfamiliar circumstances. And I think on top of the veteran leadership, they also have championship experience. And when you have those two things, it could do wonders for you in Orlando this year. And again, I think the biggest X factor is Nick Nurse and his coaching. And we saw what he did last year with Kawhi, with Danny Green. And we also saw what he did this year without them. So I definitely agree with the Raptors. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, will Giannis develop a jump shot, though? I think that's like the perennial question.
Yeah. That's a good question. Maybe he does in the playoffs, or maybe he's been working on it during quarantine. I don't know.
Yeah, it just looks so broken, though, so I don't know. Yeah.
But with the last question, the question that you guys are all waiting for, who do you predict to be in the finals this season? And who do you predict to win it all? My guy, Jonathan. It's your turn. Go.
So I guess I'll go from Eastern Conference Finals and Western Conference Finals. So for Eastern Conference Finals, like I've broken down my thought process already. I think it's going to be the Bucks and the Raptors most likely. So the West, I mean, Lakers and Clippers is just such like a mouth-watering matchup. And although the Clippers do lead the regular season series 2-1, the last two games, like the Christmas game and the game right before the lockdown, were super close. I do think that the Clippers have the advantage because they have a consistent bench. And every night they can rely on like Lou Williams, Harrell, or even players like Beverly and Shannon to step up and be that third option on offense that contributes to the win. And while I think the Lakers have a better big two in LeBron and AD, they don't have as consistent of a third option. like Kuzma is the closest to filling this role, but he's been inconsistent. And we've seen how important the contribution from this third option is because in the 3 games that they played, the one that the Lakers did win is the one in which they had a big game from a third player, not LeBron or AD, which was Avery Bradley with 24 points.
And he's out, right?
Yeah. So it really depends, like for me, whether there's that third option for the Lakers. For the finals, if it's the Raptors against either LA team, I think just the LA team wins just because of their star power. If it's the Bucks against either of the LA teams, it's going to be really tight, but I still have the West teams winning because of their depth and their, just the fact that like they're 2 superstars compared to like Giannis, who's the next best player is probably Chris Middleton. So I do have the West teams winning this finals round.
Yeah. I'm pretty much just going to be using the same reasons I used before, but when talking about the finals teams, I think it's going to be the Lakers versus, wait for it, the Raptors. I think the Raptors, yes, I think they'll make it back to the finals once again. I think they have all the veteran leadership. Remember, like I talked about how I'm going to use the same reason for all these questions because it's just that important, right? You have veteran leadership, you have championship experience in these unfamiliar circumstances. So I think the Raptors will win it for those reasons, or not win it, but will make it to the finals for those reasons. And then on top of that, Siakam is not as great of a defender as Kawhi Leonard. I think most people can agree on that. But I think the Raptors were second in the NBA in defense this year, despite all those injuries and stuff. And with all those players back, I think they have enough collectively as a team to sort of throw Giannis off and to sort of beat the Bucks in their game and stuff. So I think that will be enough for the Raptors to beat the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals this year. I really do. And then on top of that, going to the West, I think it will also be Lakers-Clippers, but I think the Lakers will win it simply because of one guy. Do you know who that guy is, Jonathan?
Yes, LeBron.
Yeah, LeBron. I don't. It's like some people just forget, man. Like some people have amnesia, right? Like people forget how good LeBron was the last time we saw him in the playoffs. Like he was like legendary in the East for so many years, and he was legendary on the Cavs those last 4 years. And I think this is something that also helps build LeBron's case. But while Giannis was beating up on the weak East, and I say the weak East because 7 out of the 9 worst teams in the NBA come from the East, and Giannis was beating up on them the entire season. I get it, 30 points, 14 rebounds, cool. LeBron James, 26 points, 11 assists, 17th season. He has 80, the best teammate he's ever had, and he made it to the finals, right, with the Cavs team where Dellavedova was his second best player one year, and then the last year probably George Hill. Like, he's made it to the finals, so I don't think that's the problem. I think winning it this year, I think he'll win it with the addition of AD. And I get it. Like Avery Bradley's not there, Rajon Rondo's also not there. They're really reaching for point guards at this point, but I think LeBron can play that position pretty well. And I think Kyle Kuzma can step up. He's been stepping up in the scrimmages, and I see him stepping up further, down the line in Orlando. And I think with 2 top 5 players in the game, with some guys like Dion Waiters and Kyle Kuzma as well, I just think the Lakers have enough to win it all this year. And I think LeBron will win his 4th championship and should win his 5th MVP? 5th, right? 5th? But he probably won't because of Giannis. But I think the Lakers will win it. But any concluding thoughts, Jonathan?
Yeah, I mean I appreciate your confidence. But playoff LeBron is like a different beast. But the Clippers-Lakers match just seems too tight to call for me. Every time they played Kawhi, it's like they tried. it's like the Clippers don't try except when they play like big teams.
That's fair.
Like, and I don't know. It's just such an evenly matched like series that I can't say with confidence that you know, either one will win. But I do agree that like going into the finals, I think either one of those teams will probably be the East team. And yeah, I mean, like, you know, I think LeBron has looked a bit more human this year, although it's like, it's not even like, actually, no, I take that back. Like, he's still pretty like physically like indomitable, so yeah. No.
But I get what you mean, like, you know, father time is still a thing, and he slowed down a bit. But I just think, I don't know, man. I think, again, I'm pretty much just saying this over and over again. I sound like a broken record, but I will say it again. I think in these unfamiliar circumstances and these troubling times, I think you have to rely on your leaders. And when your leaders are two of the top 5 players in basketball and in the world, I just think that that's enough. And I get it, the Lakers don't have the depth that the Clippers have, but, you know, minus the whole Lou Williams situation. I don't know if you've been in that or heard about it, but yeah, it's outside of that, the Clippers have all the depth. They have the complete team. I get it. But I'm going to trust the 2 mega star players. I'm not talking about like Paul George, who's just maybe top 15 player. And he didn't even have a great year this year. And then Kawhi Leonard, who I think we can all agree is at least top 5, probably like top 3-ish. I get it. They have those 2 players. They have a complete team. But LeBron and AD, man, I don't know. I'm not even a Lakers fan, but I still think, you know, they have enough to win it all this year. But having said all that, Jonathan, do you have anything like you want to plug or anything that is going on right now that you want to share with the channel? Any concluding?
No, not particularly. Just I'm, you know, glad to be on here, and you know, hope you're doing well, and hope everyone who's watching this is doing well.
Appreciate that. Hope everyone's doing well. And thank you guys so much for watching. It's another great video with my guy Jonathan, who's not a DMV native right now, but he's a super close friend, and he's actually calling in all the way from Hong Kong, like he said earlier. And you know, they have it's like 9:30 a.m. on Thursday, right there, right now. Yeah.
Well, 10 a.m. now. Yeah.
10 a.m. Yeah. And he's doing all that to jump on the video, and we greatly appreciate it, Jonathan, once again, and hope you're doing well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks, guys. Peace.
Looking at the bigger picture portrait and I smile wide. Performed a song and the crowd cried. How can I lie? I'm tearing up as I'm starting to stare in y'all eyes. I know that you going through the last month. You're stressing as you hitting